Okay, just thought I'd do a quick video here. I want to show you, this is the live chat on ESPN.com. Talking here with correspondent John Anik of ESPN. And we're typing in, asking questions to John all about MMA. So we're getting right down to it. I'm going to read off some of the better ones here and his responses, and maybe my follow-up. Okay, so we have here Chris from Baltimore says, "What's up, John? What's your favorite fight ever? I also think this would be a cool piece on MMA Live, one time to have the panel all give their favorite fight and have everyone reflect on it while showing some highlights." John Anik says, "Trying to remember if we've done that through 81 shows. I think we did at some point. As for my favorite fight, there are too many names. Let me chew on that." So he's not really sure what his favorite fight is. That's a really good question. I don't know offhand what my favorite fight would be. I tend to lean towards fights that ended in knockout. Yeah, some of the Chuck Liddell fights come to mind. Obviously not the one with Quentin Jackson, because it was too quick. But some of Chuck Liddell's knockouts, like the one against the first fight against Randy Couture. Let's see. Fred from Hoboken asks, "Is the Houston Kimbo fight at 205 or heavy?" John Anik says, "Oh, it's a catchweight fight of 215. That's very interesting. Why would they fight at 215? That really doesn't appeal. I don't really like that idea. I think if you're gonna have Kimbo fight, why not just have him fight as a heavyweight? Give him some guy on the undercard of the heavyweight division. Not Houston Alexander, who's a 205er. Why make Houston go up and weight? I don't get it. I don't like that." Okay, Matthew Rogers from Indianapolis says, "Anyone else think Tito won?" Well, personally, I think he won, but just by a smidgen. John Anik says, "There are plenty of people who had it 29-28 for Ortiz, including one of the people whose scorecard matters. I can certainly understand giving the first 2 rounds to Ortiz." So, yeah, I agree with John on that. First round might have been a 10-10. Yeah, it probably was a 10-10, but the second round, got to give it 10-9 to Ortiz. Okay, Mike from CT, Connecticut, writes, "Does Herschel Walker stand a chance in his upcoming bout, or will he be another high-profile name from another sport who gets hammered by a more skilled fighter?" John says, "You'd have to think Strikeforce will be careful in choosing Walker's first opponent. I hate to doubt an elite and dedicated athlete like Herschel, but I am of the belief there is only one Randy Couture." All right, don't know what to say about that. Herschel Walker, I'm not really a fan of his, but I'm sure he's a good athlete and can, if he trains hard enough, he should be able to put on a decent display. I doubt he will win because celebrities just don't have much success in the ring, but who knows? We'll see. Brian from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. "Remember 2 months ago when Brock Larson was the greatest thing in the history of MMA? Wow, times change. I love how quickly someone can rise and fall." John says, "Great point, Brian. It happens so quickly. You're anointed and then you lose 2 straight. MMA is experiencing such evolution. Potential champions can emerge out of nowhere, and thought to be contenders can fade. Not saying Larson is done, but it's a great sport, isn't it?" Yeah, it is a great sport. With all the competition out there, people coming and going, names being, brought up and becoming popular overnight almost. One knockout can really change the way the fans perceive you. So that's what's exciting about the sport. Derek from Wisconsin says, "Hey, John, who would you like to see Little Nog fight next after his destruction of Kane?" John says he'd like to see Forrest Griffin fight Little Nog. I think a lot of people feel the same way. I'd like to see that fight. Yeah, that'd be a good fight, definitely. The winner of that could go on to get a title shot. Okay, When will Big Fatty from Tough get his comeuppance, whatever that means? Okay, he's referring to Big Country Roy Nelson from The Ultimate Fighter Season 10. John says, hey, you got to think he's fighting in the final. Just curious, who will it be? He picks Brendan Schaub to run the table at the beginning. I think Roy Nelson's probably going to win that. And I don't even like Roy Nelson, so I don't really care. I don't much to talk about that. Patrick from Kentucky. John, love your work. Any word on Bobby Lashley's next move? Seems like Strikeforce would have scooped him up by now. Yeah, I agree. I think Strikeforce should go ahead and get Lashley while they still can. Well, before he becomes too popular, then they have to pay him a huge amount of money, or it'd be wise for them to grab him before he loses a fight. Because then the tension could die down. But I think he's more valuable while he's unbeaten. And I'd love to see Bobby Lashley in Strikeforce. John says, thanks, Pat. As you know, it was reported that he was close to a deal with Strikeforce, but nothing materialized or was firmed up. I've said all along with respect to Strikeforce and others that Lashley is a must-sign for the UFC. Eventually, for the UFC, I don't think he's ready for the UFC, or the UFC should even bother with signing him yet. Go ahead and, I'd rather see him in Strikeforce. All right, Jason from MI says, I'm thankful for MMA Live in this chat. Hayden from Utah says, how about that Aldo dude? Amazing. Does he fight Uriah now? Frank Mir wouldn't stop talking about this guy 16 months ago. Hope someone made money on Jose Aldo. The fight against Faber is one that most people want to see, myself included. Here's my comment. I say here, John, what do you think of the Koscheck fight at 106? What was with that weird eye injury? How do you think it affected the outcome of the fight? John replies that he didn't think it had a huge impact on the fight, on the outcome. Koscheck's strategy was to fatigue Johnson, and he did that very well. He thinks that Koscheck can be successful with... Well, his approach to fighting can be successful for a lot of guys. And his approach is that he will fight anyone, anytime. He really thinks Koscheck is very entertaining, and he also says that he hopes Andy Johnson will return at 185 pounds. Yeah, I kind of agree. I'd like to see Anthony fight at 185 instead of 170. I think it's a little too difficult for him to make that cut in weight, and it kind of wears him down. 185 would be pretty much perfect for him since he walks around at over 220. All right, one more. Lots of fan popularity for posting each round scores after the round. Your thoughts? Have you asked any fighters about this? My thoughts are that that would be excellent. That's exactly what they need to do, is go ahead and let everyone know who won that round and by how much. I don't see why they wouldn't do that, or why they can't do that. I'd like to hear some arguments from people that say, that would be a bad idea if they show the score of each round at the end of the round. John Anik says, we never stop talking about MMA scoring. Stephan Bonner and I were discussing the must system in recent fights every time we weren't filming today. I think it makes for unbelievable debate. Also interesting, a lot of MMA fans tend to agree with each other, yet disagree with the judges. That is definitely a trend. It's such a tough sport to score. What is worth what exactly, Yeah, I agree. Really tough to score, but they need to work something out soon. The scoring right now is ineffective. It needs to be replaced, reformatted from the ground up. I think the best idea so far is just to go ahead and post the scores of each round. And with that notion, I'll go ahead and end the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.